Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Fireside chat hosted by the Zaiku Group. I have the good fortune of getting to talk for the next hour, I believe, with Laurentiu. Oh, maybe that was the countdown he was talking about. Let me start over. So for the next hour, we're going to spend time. I get to have the good fortune of speaking to Laurentiu Nitsa from Quarks Interactive. We're going to talk about a new game they've released, and that is meant to improve quantum literacy. And we're also going to get to know a bit about Lore, as he said he's okay with me calling him by. And feel free to ask a question, vote up any questions you have, and we'll begin. I want to thank Ben Borda from the Zaiku Group for hosting this, and let's get started. So Lore, tell us a little bit about yourself. I figure let's start with you, and then we'll expand to the game and the company. And just curious, where are you living? Where'd you grow up? Are you from a family of scientists or engineers, or feel free to go anywhere you wish with that.
Thanks for inviting me, guys, and it's an honor to be here and be able today to talk to you about a really big passion project I've always had since I started looking at quantum computation seriously. To tell you a bit about my background, it's quite humble. I come from not a very rich family, not poor either. They are policemen, and I grew up in a little mountain town in the middle of Transylvania in Romania. And imagine, we know that Transylvania is quite cold, but back in the day, before we had the whole global warming or climate change, how you wish to call it, we used to have temperatures of like -30. I used to have to go to school for like 5 kilometers on my own, being 10 years old. And I would come to school with my face completely frozen like a popsicle. And it was really fun to try to pay attention to the classes and so on. But we had really good teachers. And it's only thanks to that. It's only thanks to the teachers I got to meet when I was very young, is that I began to be passionate about mathematics to such an extent that I decided to pursue anything that has to do with mathematics. And the first thing that made sense was to study computer science, because that also combines my other passion, which is gaming. And I can tell you that when I was like 14, I used to play a lot of StarCraft Brood War, in a sense. A lot maybe doesn't give it justice. I used to even not be at home on many days, because I had a partnership with the local internet cafe, and I was the little local star there, just playing and winning all the tournaments and trying to be the best in the country. And that's a dream which I never fully realized because of school. And I had some commitments. But gaming has always been a core part of me, and at the same time also maths and STEM education has been my pursuit. I don't know, it's a really long story. I mean, Amir, it's up to you how far you wish to.
Well, let's steer this. Thanks for sharing that. I think -30 counts where you move past the temperature threshold into just pure pain. I can only guess how hard that was growing up in that climate. Let's start with I would say the easiest question, and probably what most of us, in the quantum sciences or quantum computing fields like to know, and it's what initially sparked your interest in quantum science or quantum computing specifically?
It started, I think, the same way it started for most people, with clicking on the wrong YouTube video and then going on a rabbit hole. And then after you finish the rabbit hole, you're at the bottom of the hole and you just don't see light anymore. And then you start wondering, wait a second, there's a thing called Google Scholar. Let me check. And then you start realizing that, hey, 99% of the stuff within this rabbit hole is BS. Has nothing to do with reality. We really have not succeeded in properly creating well, properly appreciating quantum computation for what it is and communicating it adequately, at least on YouTube, at least when it comes to what you see in press. That actually happened while I was employed at IBM. So when I was 25 and above, up to, well, now I'm 33, I quit IBM just 2.5 years ago. And all this time I spent in IBM, and I spent it looking at automation and trying to figure out new ways to create automation, to reach the threshold of, well, everything that you could have on a server is fully automated. I used to bring a lot of philosophical debates into why we are automating everything and why we are trying to push boundaries like that. I used to talk about what Elon Musk is doing right now, about us maybe one day going to Mars, maybe one day we'll get to see something different. And if we don't manage to create devices that are fault tolerant, then can you imagine? You will not get help desk support when you're in space, I suppose, or you'll get it a bit too late. And while I was at IBM, while I was really deep into AI and working on projects that have to do with, well, let's understand through a data perspective what needs to be automated further, what does Pareto principle tells us? I guess you guys are familiar with that. I stumbled on Grover's quantum search algorithm, and I read everything about it, and I realized we could be using something like that into the way we process data. We parse monitoring systems and how we collect information out of monitoring servers in IBM globally. And that ended up, that was the point in which everything on YouTube just seemed completely wrong about the way we understand quantum computing. Very few classes actually don't make mistakes. I don't know if you watch, for example, MIT offers free courseware and so on. That's pretty good, yeah. But there are quite a few that actually are putting you on the right trajectory to learn quantum computing. So while I was doing Grover search and thinking of ways to make it work on existing IBM devices, I managed to finish a paper, which at the same time I also was studying for my computer engineering degree, for my master's degree, which ended up being published in Springer. And that, with a few other perks, such as knowing automation quite deeply, got me to accept an invitation from Nicholas Kanzler, who is my PhD supervisor, and come to UK, to Durham, and study at Durham University, and literally try to put something on early hardware that you could actually do on early hardware. So we started thinking, ideation on many huge whiteboards were finished. I don't know if you want to go deeper here. Amir, again, up to you.
Well, yeah, that was one of, I couldn't find much about, well, there is an Easter egg that we'll come back to in the game. Well, at least I'm going to use that term, that it was an Easter egg. But yeah, if so you're currently at Durham University with pursuing a PhD in theoretical physics, correct?
Yeah.
Now you had, I'm curious, just going back a little bit to your time as, you have a master's of science and computer engineering, but you were able to focus on quantum computing at Wroclaw University. And I'm just curious, at the time, how difficult was it to even, like, were there quantum computing classes? Was this like a very special area of research? You had to find your people and almost create your specialization in the program? Because yeah, I'm just curious about how that came to be.
So the moment you enroll for a PhD in UK, you'll have to mandatory take a bunch of classes which are on a PhD level, and they give you background in optics, pure physics, condensed matter, whatever. There are quite a lot. I just arrived there and I looked at these beautiful topics and I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, I could see an equation which would take a paper and a half to just express it properly, do maybe just one Fourier transform of it. And I had to remind myself of all the knowledge which I lost in IBM, which is pure mathematics. And again, just relearn and find through all the textbooks I have, all the information and all the ways which I could interpret any equation you would give me, I don't know, the behavior of a bunch of photons and what happens through scattering and so on, and find a solution to that. And that was really fascinating. I used to love sitting in the lab because I was given my own room. I'm the only, I think maybe I'm saying something that's not correct. Might be another theoretical physicist in Durham looking at quantum computation. So I had my little, just a room with a key that I could just sit there and do all of that. So while I was doing that, I stumbled on the fact that I'm literally, at the beginning, I used to have like a block sphere made of carton, of paper, that I would just rotate around to play with, understand gate model really fast. Because on the internet, I couldn't find anything that would just click with me. Like I wanted to understand quantum interference. I wanted to understand the entanglement. I wanted to be able to see mixed states, not just pure states. To some extent, I wanted to go deep on that level. And that was the point in which I realized, right, I'm gonna code my own thing here. It's annoying, it's frustrating that we don't have a proper quantum visualizer. Maybe I don't know really what's all on the internet, but from my search in 2018, I couldn't find anywhere which I would be able to see quantum interference, which I would be able to deduce the outcome of quantum interference immediately. I would just have to do everything by math. And that was really, really frustrating. So I started working on it, and then a bunch of opportunities came. I got a Startup Nation grant in Romania. I also got an Innovate UK grant in the UK, which they wanted to test on the UK market, the product, which I developed in Romania together with some programmer friends in Romania. And we managed to succeed in creating what used to be called QViz. That was the prototype, which at the beginning it was about like 20,000 lines of really bad code made in Unity. And it was the first time I actually started working with Unity. Thanks to the programmer team I established in Romania, after we had funding, we had to remake the whole code and now create a solid project that doesn't crash, doesn't have any kind of bugs or anything like that. And funding really makes a difference. But we managed to test my prototype a bit. That was a bit polished at the time in UK, in a bunch of UK schools with 12-year-olds, their teachers, academic staff. We managed to test also with postgrads, with people who work in different IT consultancy companies. So we had a bunch of companies who were enrolled. And that was the time when COVID was coming. So we were on site discussing with kids. I was teaching kids quantum computing on a whiteboard, and then having them to see if they can recognize Bell states, which are entangled, which are not in the game. And they could. That was really beautiful to see. And then that really took off, and professors really loved that. And they didn't just love that, but the kids were, I don't know, the only word which comes to mind is scarred for some reason. But because they kept on coming to the professors and asking them, like, do we get to play with that in the future? Or will this be in class at some point? Will we learn about this soon more because we want to see more? So that was quite a successful grant we ran, and I still need to parse all the data. There's, I think, over 100 entries of various bits I need to connect and do some error bars and try to calculate to see what grades the students gave us, the feedback, to do some semantic analysis to understand what are the key things that they want more than, well, I've done a preliminary analysis, but I have to go deeper than that to publish a paper. We had an actual test in schools, and it turns out kids who were from a Christian school, studying philosophical topics in philosophy and theology, mostly, that was the core study topic field. They outperformed on a first note, on the first look. So I'm not saying the data is fully analyzed, but it seems the younger the person is, the more they had to do with computer science to some extent, the more likely it is that they are able to take these visualizations and kind of put them together in a sense that they're able to finish state compilation puzzles or quantum state decomposition puzzles very fast, extraordinarily fast. I was surprised. I made the modules of tests of puzzles that they were to solve in such a nature that it's hard for me to finish them in just the 45 minutes they had during the tests. And there were one kid, I think it was a 14-year-old kid, who finished all of them.
Wow.
Finished absolutely all of them, and then he could describe precisely through visualizations. I could give a circuit, like I could draw a composer you have in IBM and just put a bunch of gates, and he would tell me where to put a H and what to put entanglement to. So yeah, it's fascinating to see that.
That's fascinating.
I could talk about what professors did, but I shouldn't because it's embarrassing. I think the older the person is, the more they overthink things instead of focusing on the problem at hand.
Yeah, what was that like for you to see raw talent exposing itself?
Wow, I don't know if I don't know how to answer this question in a manner which is appropriate. So I asked the kid what he wants to do when he grows up, and he did not answer STEM. So yeah, that was really something.
Yeah. So this is teasing a bit because I want to now understand, how did QViz become Quantum Odyssey, which is this game. I don't know the connection necessarily there. It sounds like there may be some overlap. So Quantum Odyssey is this game you've just released. It came out on December 8th. And I can see from the website, it's not just a game to you. There's a whole mission behind this, and it's towards this mission of quantum literacy. So before we hop into the game, can you share a bit, and feel free to connect the dots between QViz and Quantum Odyssey, but can you share a bit about what this mission is? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so it didn't took long after going in this quantum rabbit hole to realize that the logic we seem to use and we have built, and the kind of way we structure propositions and think of, any sentence, anything which is reducible to irreducible truths, to axioms, it's incomplete in a sense. Quantum computation allows us to maybe transcend a bit the barrier of it's just a computer, but it actually comes with some interesting knowledge there that we do not apply in almost any field, I think. Maybe I'm again wrong, but yeah, so it's fascinating the moment you start to understand quantum interference. For me, it is quantum interference, which is the most spectacular and the most phenomenal thing we have discovered through quantum physics, to be able to understand that in our daily lives, probability events, just adding more events to some probability will just increase the probabilities. Quantum computation, let's not say quantum computation, let's say quantum logic, makes it possible for events to annihilate each other, which is so bizarre and unfortunate. This is maybe the reason why the rabbit hole of studying quantum we have today is incomplete, is wrong, takes you on wrong alleys, is that it's very hard to describe it with words. You can't really describe it with words. You need equations for that. You need the Dirac's bracket notation to be able to fully describe a quantum system and understand its glory. But that's also incomplete, because then it takes you away from the field of having thought experiments. What would happen if certain conditions would change? You have to recalculate the math for everything, and it's so annoying and so frustrating. So that was QViz. It allowed you to see quantum interference. My goal was that if people want to take quantum from this place where it was at the time, which for me it felt like most of the society was looking at this focus pocus part of it, of this mysterious, quantum pendulum kind of thing about it. Yeah, it's a mysterious force. You are the light bulb. We are quantum. Everyone is quantum. There's a lot of information which is lost there. You can't really communicate that there are some emerging properties which are not accounted for, things we need to discover and so on. It's a really complicated topic to discuss about quantum. And you can't really discuss about quantum unless you have a proper visualizer, which can show you quantum, and only then you can discuss about quantum. Or the alternative is to study the math. So I was at the crux. I had a visualizer. It had a really good reviews with it in the seminars in Durham University, showing it to all those experimentalists studying optics. I was presenting how it works and how you could show like Hongo-Mandel effect visually, and how you could see interference, how you could see phase, how you could encode like a physics experiment straight into the quantum Odyssey, the QViz, and you could just see it. You could just see it and you could just tweak it, and you would be able to think of new ideas on that. So I wanted to take that from this level of abstraction, or this level in which it's just a scientific tool, to something more than that. And I spent many months thinking about what would be the most adequate way in which that would happen. So I think it needs a few things. It needs to be made as cool as possible, as fun as possible, as exciting as possible. It needs to give you a score. It needs to make you feel like, right, I'm unlocking things. It's not just about learning, or maybe it's not even about learning. It's about my ability to solve this new puzzle, which so far it hasn't existed. Yeah, so you could take Quantum Odyssey today and play it just as a fun puzzle game, just like you would play Tetris. Just the difference is that by the end, you'd actually be able to go on IBM's composer and just make an algorithm, you know? So you actually learn the most important field in science, I believe, today. I was about to start incubating this idea into a business in which we would need a very high budget to make a dent into how quantum is seen today, from this esoteric thing by the population into something that's, right, it's a practical thing. You know, we could make quantum intuition common sense if we just make sure we would deliver videos, artwork, and a video game that achieves that makes it cool, makes it fascinating, but at the same time it's mathematically rigorous, and it does justice to what quantum computation can achieve. So this is the reason why, and with this message, I found other people like me, and I found people who are willing to invest in this idea. So from absolutely nothing, we managed to raise investment, and these were just people from Romania who invested. So that's also fascinating, because in Romania, I don't know if there is even a master in quantum computation at one of the universities. Again, I might be wrong, but I haven't seen at the time when I was joining Durham. So I managed to secure a small budget, which would be enough to have a first release, an early access release, which is capable to communicate both in terms of videos, both in terms of the quality of the artwork, how cool quantum can be, and how it can become more than something you would have in a browser game, or, you know, like most of the science games today are small little packets, so small little bits that you would have playing in a browser with some really big layers of abstractization and incomplete at the same time. So Quantum Odyssey, the game it is today, it is the effect of having spent about 100,000 pounds. Yeah,
that's by indie game standards, though. That's pretty remarkable, I think. I'll just go ahead and ask now: how big was the team for the development of the project?
Most of the development was done by a single brilliant guy.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy is amazing, and he's been working on it for two years.
Okay.
Full time, and by full time I mean we had conferences to show the game at. We had people to present it to. So this means extra hours and a lot of supplementary efforts than what you would normally describe as a day of work, which I really appreciate. He's done the programming after we finished the prototype, after I finished well, describing the mathematics and the rigorosity of the mathematics was complete and properly describing the game. He took that and he made it scalable. He made it to use CPU parallelization and reduce latency time. So for example, like if you have a 5-qubit algorithm, it used to take you half a second to place a gate, because we found some ways to tweak with Unity. He found, and we managed to reduce the time for like 30 milliseconds. And you'd see in real time what happens exactly in your full quantum algorithm. The moment you swap some gates, you add something extra. So I would not even put myself there on the programming side. I create lots of content and I've done some tweaking, but that was done by one person. For the artwork, we had, I would say, one FT and a half. So one person full-time with another one who's contributing from time to time. And for marketing, for the past 3 months, we had someone come on board and help us with marketing because we have no experience in marketing. We have no idea how to sell a video game.
Well, like I said, I think for any indie game budget, I think for completing all that with only £100,000 is quite impressive. And we'll come back to the company aspect. I think it's a good point maybe to pause at this moment and let's have a look at the game. We've been talking about it a bit. I'm sure for those who haven't had a chance to download it, and I'll just point out that there's a free version. Anyone can play through the intro levels. I went ahead and bought the game. I'm looking forward to trying the rest of it. But yeah, if you can download it online today, and then you can, and it's free to try. So, would you be able to take us through a short demo?
Mm-hmm. I've never used Fireside before for sharing, but I hope it works.
Yeah, and I'm going to drop off a video here just so that it will.
Okay. Guys, so we built a website. It's fully custom made, quarksinteractive.com, where we hope we do a good job at presenting the mission behind the game, what it means by playing this game, what we hope to achieve as you play the game. We also here discuss a bit more about the research we've been doing around the game, not to the extent I would like, so the website is still work in progress. We also have a Discord channel, so if you can access our website, don't even bother about buying the game for now. I mean, get to know us, get to know who we are, what we are doing, and just hop on Discord and let's talk. You'll see that our channel has become from something that discusses the game, which it was at the beginning. Now we are literally discussing full-fledged quantum computation with people who have no background in quantum computation, and they can just understand it through the visualization. So just join here if you want to be in a place that's, well, brand new in a sense, because it's talking about, understanding quantum with as least math as possible. In the game, you will not see any mathematics except 0 and 1, which could be as well on and off. If you want to download the game, just click here, download it. A launcher will be installed. We partnered with Exola for publishing, so any kind of account you'd have, any kind of whatever works. So just download the game and enjoy it. Maybe it would be cool to try to share the mission video before I show the game content. This also shows the game content, and it puts it in a perspective in which I think I failed to do it justice if I just talk about it. Would that be fine, Amir?
Yeah, go ahead, and hopefully we have the audio from it.
Yeah, let's test it.
I'm not sure if I'm getting audio.
At the beginning, we have a quote from Richard Fuller. He talks about the idea of if you have a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach.
Since the birth of humanity,
but just give a tool instead and let
Since the birth of humanity, our ancestors who survived and thrived were the discoverers, the adventurers. They had problems to solve and plans to lay out, and as a result, stories to tell. The more effective they were at tackling nature's challenges, the bigger their stories became. Specialist tools had to be made to harness the power of their stories, ideas, and reasoning. They could not afford to lose them with time. They kept them safe. But too often, valuable information became accessible only to a select few. Yet with enough common stories and understanding, civilizations were born. Leaders and societies who thrived expanded their knowledge. Information literacy, as a result of sharing this knowledge, was key to their longevity, whilst ignoring or hoarding it out of ignorance, fear, or hatred was the beginning of their downfall.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Although we've reached a new age, the age of information, where more people on Earth have access to more information than ever before, what's holding us back from solving these problems? Our old ways of accessing and processing information brought us solutions because the passing of time allowed it, whether we were aware of it or not. We may not have time on our side anymore because of the pressing nature of our problems, but
Guys, this is called glued trees problem for those of you who know graph theory. And it was proven to be scalable on using quantum flip coin, like quantum walk. I think also on diabetic machines. I don't know if anybody's done it on gate model yet.
But we may have found a most powerful ally, a new way of reasoning. So powerful that we are convinced it is the very logic behind the fabric of our universe. We named it quantum computing. However, the tremendous potential of this tool is not enough if we cannot even begin to grasp it as a society. With this in mind, at
Another developer feedback, and I'm sorry for spoiling or ruining the movie. The logo of the company is the quantum Venn paradox. So if you would be a kindergarten kid today and you would have three polarized lenses, maybe from your father's drawer, yeah, you could place two of them that you would know they're polarized on the same direction with a 90-degree angle, and you would see no light can pass through two of the lenses. And the moment you add the third lens somewhere, you would see light passes through. And that's so bizarre, and that's so beautiful, and that's something you can show to a kindergarten teacher, you can show to your parents, you can show yeah, to almost anybody. And that's a way to see with your own eyes the beauty of quantum mechanics. And it's very, very counterintuitive. So there is no way not to be fascinated by yeah, just showing this to someone. Yeah, so with 3 lenses, you would see light coming through. With 2, you would see no light passes through. So just try that one day. You'll be surprised.
Arts Interactive, our mission is to make learning quantum computing come as easily and naturally as having a good time. And with that, introduce quantum literacy to every single human being. Therefore, we've made Quantum Odyssey, the first video game to make quantum computation fun and accessible to people of all ages, no matter their background. With Quantum Odyssey, the idea of applying quantum reasoning becomes simply a matter of understanding and solving visual puzzles. Play your way through quantum computing. Explore carefully crafted learning modules that will open the doors to this new way of reasoning. Browse through an interactive encyclopedia filled with all the quantum knowledge you'll need. And to top it all, no maths required ever. Be part of the quantum literacy revolution. See you in Quantum Odyssey.
So thank you for sharing that. There are a few questions I have in follow-up, but I'm going to start with I think we're all going to hold you to that no maths required, because what you're selling is even better than the only Python and linear algebra skills needed. Yeah, so on that, in this mission, there were 17 sustainable development goals, and you called out number 4, which is the quality education piece. Again, to me, this feels like it's more than just a game for you. There's this whole mission behind it. So on that one, there's an Easter egg in the game that I call it. Well, I call it an Easter egg because the game is self-referential in a way. It calls out some of the research you did, and I even love that it's calling, for those, there's not a direct hyperlink, but if you can do a simple Google, you'll find the work that you and others did. Concisely named The Challenge and Opportunities of Quantum Literacy for Future Education and Transdisciplinary Problem Solving. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about this part of your mission, the quality education piece.
Yeah, thanks, Samir, for pointing that out. We didn't want to just make quantum computation fun, but make it, besides seriously fun, which comes naturally to say, but also write it down as scientifically as possible and as easy as possible for it to be on the language of people who do education and who discuss education, who have the capacity to do policies in education. The software we are made, it's designed in such a nature that hopefully it will become trivial to be used in schools in order to foster the idea of quantum literacy, in order to create a generation for which quantum intuition is not counterintuitive, and which is like a common thing. Yeah, just understanding the way this computational logic, this logic of small little particles works, and how our normal day-by-day ideas of probability and so on differ from. So we wrote quite a long research paper which discusses quite deeply from Feinstein's idea of powerful knowledge. It all trickles down from there, from taking the idea of there is certain knowledge that provides access to high-paid jobs, to creating innovative products, to creating, the wealth humanity has, the technological progress humanity has. And that sits in this little cluster that's called powerful knowledge. The mission behind our company is to take this powerful knowledge and keep it rigorous and just spread it out and eliminate this entry barrier, which could be direct notations, linear algebra, and complex numbers. You can start understanding all of these, and you can go further in mathematics after you've achieved an intuition for complex numbers, linear algebra, Dirac's notation, if you wish to continue on the journey. But at very least, get access to the powerful knowledge.
That actually answered one of my other questions I had, because there's a narrative here that was painted in the mission of, information being kept private in the hands of a few. And now that explains to me, why you've cast the retelling of, a very quick retelling of history, but through that lens of information being almost a commodity and something that could be closely held. So it's great. I think it's great what you're doing with trying to improve this literacy and make it accessible to all. And the part, so I want to ask you a question. The UI design and I can see in the UI design just with how you approach. Oh, great! Yeah, if you want to open up the game. Mm-hmm. With how you approach layers of that rabbit hole you're talking about, how far down do you want to go? So as you're introducing concepts, I notice you have these, you can hover over them, get a quick one-liner. And then if you want to go deeper, then you can actually click on the link in these tutorials and learn more about the science behind it. And if you would just maybe share a bit about what influenced your overall design of the game and how to basically peel layers of this difficulty of understanding a new field?
First of the sound is coming clear, the background music and everything. It's not too loud or anything.
I don't hear the background music. I do hear the sound effects though. Okay, now I hear a little bit of that. Yeah.
So the way we approached it, initially I wanted to make something very unique, a place that looks like no other. So take the idea of learning, place it on an atom. So I wanted to create 3 quarks in an atom that you could zoom out, and you would have also physics experiments, which would be in the will be part of what we plan to produce later, and have a structure that kind of follows the Veni Vidi Vici principle that I like to call. So first you see the fundamental laws and you explore those deep as needed in order to ensure that by the end you're able to master what it means and what will happen the moment you place, I don't know, CCX or whatever kind of entanglement, whatever kind of weird superposition you would cook up. You would know what would happen. You would know how your algorithm would change and what would be the consequence of that. Chapter 1 is quite deep. I don't know, I think it's over 15 hours to finish all the content with some background. So if you have some background, it will take you that long. But if not, then you should really spend time to go deep in it. Just spend as much time as needed and do the modules as many times as you want. The structure itself is inspired from CRPGs. I'm a huge fan of Planescape Torment and the works of Chris Avellone. We actually discussed to collaborate. I mean, maybe that's another topic really, but this game could become more than pure education. What I plan is to immerse you and have this spaceship actually leave and go into a world that's a combination of Everett's, David's bombs, and all those quantum philosophical interpretations of what measurement means. So that's part of the future. Right now, it's full education built in a CRPG style. So any word you see in the game which looks a bit quantum or has something to do with some field of mathematics or whatnot, or something interesting like, I don't know, measurement, for instance, it is clickable. It is clickable and takes you to an encyclopedia. And we hope that through repetition, through encountering this word again and again and again, as you progress through these modules, and coming back to the encyclopedia, which is quite long, you might not be able to finish reading it or understand it fully, every entry that is in the encyclopedia from a first go, but eventually you will. And I think we already can show some people who actually succeed. So at the beginning you learn about the the ideas behind core computation. So we do not discuss quantum until the 3rd module, which discusses quantum superposition from a standpoint of what probability means in relation to what it means if probability events would be reversible. So we have this approach in which we are trying to immerse you into some big questions, some big thought experiments. So every module is actually posing a thought experiment in your head. And as you go through the module, you'll come with your own answer to the thought experiment, which hopefully might be a good answer, something you could share with us and we could write some research together. So the first module discusses pure computation. It makes you think binary from a simple bit. This is not a qubit, this is just a bit with 0 and 1, and you'll have only gates that have no color, which means gates that do not bring any phase to the qubits. So you'll explore all the logical structures you would do on a standard classical computation. And you will see the ball. The ball describes the state vector of the computation. And everything.
Well, that's interesting that you bring up the state vector point, because in that lower right corner there's the math overlay. So what I love about it is you are actually showing the math behind whatever circuit you have designed, and so for the curious, that's why I see so many layers of like being able to get deeper and deeper into the science with this game, with the way you've designed it. One question for you. With the decision to use balls dropping through boxes, oddly enough, my first book I read was called Q is for Quantum by Terry Rudolph. Are you familiar with the book?
No.
Okay, so he uses that same idea of balls falling through boxes, these being certain operations in these black boxes, and then you have, different colored balls coming out. The only downside of reading a book is you don't get the animations. You don't get, he didn't have the connecting diagrams kind of with the design you have. Yeah, I was just curious if that had influenced your work at all, or if that was just something that you had landed on yourself with visualization.
I'm pretty sure it's coincidental. I think I played some quantum games, and I read some publications on visualizing methods for quantum computing, but I was still looking for a way to express quantum interference, or to see it expressed, and that frustrated me, and that was the first thing I was checking, and I would just flip to something else if there was nothing on it. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are still talking about the block sphere, by the way, but check it out. So I botched the block sphere as well. What we are doing in this video game, I think these modules are extremely interesting to observe and to go through, even if you have a full background. Like if you are a postgrad in quantum computation, I think you will still find something exciting here. Check out our block spheres.
I found even in the intro of the free part of the game, I thought it was beautiful how you showed isomorphism once you introduced the 2 qubits. There was a statement made about how even though there are 2 qubits, in the end you have 4 boxes that the balls can fall into, and that still represents a state. Each of those boxes can have phase, and to me, although it wasn't specifically named, it was beautiful because it was showing visually isomorphism from what I had just done before.
I keep hearing new names for the things we made.
Yeah.
Isomorphism is one of them.
Yeah, so here's one question from Diego, and he's asking, what was the hardest quantum-related concept that you had to incorporate into the game?
I think the most fun I had implementing interference combined with many qubits entanglement. So we had to rethink the way we looked at the properties of matrices being bipartite and unitary and reversible. Combining all those and making sure that no matter what you do, no matter how many qubits you have, and no matter what you could think of placing, what kind of weird entanglement scenarios you'd feel like constructing right now, the representation is perfect. So it's kind of like creating one system, kind of like one ring that fits them all, that rules them all. So just make sure it's rigorous, and it is rigorous up to 12 decimals. We have our own way of dealing with floating point errors to not have any extra lines or any kind of extra artifacts showing up.
Yeah, it's quite satisfying to see interference happen when 2 of the phases cancel.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see something really weird.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone saw that on mine. It was a little bit. Maybe if you slow down the time, because there's a delay with the video coming through.
Yeah, for some reason, I never thought that this is actually fascinating to see, but many people keep telling me it is. So just on top of each other. So guys, the idea of like a Schrodinger's cat, like putting something in superposition, and then just putting it again in superposition. What would you expect to happen? And no, this is exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's satisfying to me to see the branches of computation dying off in a way, the ones that don't succeed, because to actually have someone put it to a visual, we all have concepts of it when we work with the equations, but yeah, I found it satisfying. So I wonder if others will as well. Okay, yeah, the video's working much better now. Yeah, so speaking about game development, full disclosure, I work at Unity. I was surprised to see, or I was pleasantly surprised to see you use Unity for this project, and was curious just why the choice of Unity, and how was it to develop the game in Unity?
Well, for me as a
speak.
total Unity beginner in 2018, so after I had the theory laid down and I knew exactly what I want to code. It wasn't that hard. I know some people complain about C# being really difficult, combined with the behavior class from Unity and all that. But it wasn't. We were missing DLLs, quite a lot of them. One was for complex numbers. We had to import, I remember having to import the DLL from Unity Math packet to Unity. Oh, sorry, from the C# math.complex. I had to import it manually. We also changed the behavior class. We have our own behavior class for Unity. I know Unity also does not, apparently we couldn't create big matrices the way we want them and use the rules for matrix multiplication and tensoring. So we had to make our own way of creating matrices with complex numbers and create our own, I'm missing now the word, Kronecker products to be able to calculate, to tensor like, all right, check it out, guys. So there's another really cool thing which you don't get to see anywhere. Let's imagine you have here an X. No, you have a Y gate, right? On a single qubit. It does what the Y gate does. It's I here and minus I if the qubit will start from this direction. Now if you place 2 on 2 qubits, it's bang. See what you get?
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can really get a visual taste for exactly what happens on the linear algebra field, yeah, when you're just playing with quantum gates.
So we're nearing the end of the interview, but so I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a bit about the business side of things, the company. So you've made this freemium game. You've had it partially funded through that UK grant. I'm curious, how difficult was that? How difficult was it to have like bootstrapping the company with public funds, but also taking in private funds, and then with the upside even of being able to generate revenue? Was that difficult to navigate at all?
Extremely difficult, especially because this is our first launch, it's our first product, and we aim where everybody says you should not aim if you're an indie developer studio. We aim quite hard, and yeah, I mean, we need to figure out how to do marketing for the game, and we need to figure out exactly where the game stands and how we should communicate what the game does, because there is a puzzle solving community that likes to play puzzles, which are welcomed, and apparently they are the ones that currently purchased and play the game, interestingly enough. And now they're looking at quantum and understanding it to some really interesting, through some very interesting ways, understanding quantum and asking some really interesting questions on our Discord channel, where I invite you to come. And then there is, of course, the person who wants to learn quantum, which for us would be an immediate route to marketing, right? If you want to learn quantum, we provide you the best place to start, I hope. And if that's not the case, come and tell us, and we will do it on the next patch. And yeah, we need to find how we should market the product. Should we talk about the fun aspect more? Should we dial that down and talk about learning more? And these are questions which, of course, we had a soft launch on 8th of December. So everybody who buys the game now literally joins a community that just started of people who are really quantum curious from all walks of life. And maybe together we can figure out exactly who this game appeals to and how to really popularize it. I mean, if we succeed to make this game something that kids would just come without being asked by their parents or their teachers, then I think we've achieved a great deal of success. And when it comes to making some profit out of it, this is something which, you know, the plans I have in the future is to use all the money we managed to make through the game, and some of it, if we can, and we already have a project with Uncertain Systems, that people who would buy the game through his YouTube channel, the profit will go to a unitary fund.
Oh, wow.
I think half of it, if I remember how we agreed.
Now, for those who aren't aware, that's a really cool mechanism. So you're talking about a game funding actual research in quantum computing, because the Unitary Fund is a fund that does micro grants to projects in the realm of open source quantum science projects, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Those were the guys we were also thinking to go to, but we were lucky enough that I could communicate what I'm trying to do to European Union, and they approved my project, so I didn't have to. But that was my last bet, so to say, to be able to create a project like this was the Unitary Fund. And I'm really happy such places and, well, people like that who manage such grants exist out there, because it's really hard as a researcher. So many researchers, I think, every day have brilliant ideas, but when they look at the struggle it would take to bring it to market, to show how cool science can be, not just talking about quantum, but any kind of science, then I think for many it's a waste of time, because that's such a unpenetrable market right now. If you just go to Steam, I think if you click on science, there's like 20 games or something, and they have not much to do with actual science, most of them, I would believe. Still, I know I checked it a year and a half ago, but I'm not sure if it's still accurate. So yeah, it's really difficult. It's really difficult, and scientists really need support. I mean, if we want to make popularize science and show science not as this weird thing that people do with wearing white robes and sitting in weird places that smell like CO2, then we need help. Yeah, we need massive support from the community, and we need the gamer to realize that he could play a really cool game that is actually teaching him something really freaking useful in his daily life. Like he could get a job with just a bit more education, maybe, or maybe straight away just after finishing it. So, but for that, it requires a lot of money. It requires a lot of very, very smart people, except the founder, who might be or not be, to gather together and to create a really polished product. And that's really not easy to achieve, even getting these people. Imagine in our team, we have 2 educationalists, 2 professors of education, and 1 or maybe 2 quantum physicists who are actively creating content in the game. And they have grants, they have their daily jobs, they have really hardcore and important research for them that they've been working on many years to publish. And here I come asking them if they're willing to take time from their already fully busy schedule with also teaching kids the matter they're experts on, and help me build this content. And the only way I succeeded was because of the way I was able to articulate this mission and to give it these wings, as in, right, this really has to happen if we want to do something really cool and see quantum take off in our lifetimes, not post-mortem or something. Yeah. So yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult. It's a whole rabbit hole of difficulty, Amir. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's great is you have, I would say, for indie game development, releasing the game is quite an achievement, because there are so many studios that don't ever get to that point. So now that you have it out there, well, let me ask a few questions came up in the chat, some practical questions. Is this available on Mac and Linux? currently?
That is the most common question I get. Many people apparently don't use Windows anymore. The game exploits a lot of weird things in Windows, like CPU parallelization, the way the matrices are processed to optimize what you see, to not get latency, to really have a gamer experience in front of you and not just like a scientific tool experience. I need help to port it to Mac, and I plan to have it done by May, and we are actually hiring help to do porting, maybe even bring it to Steam, to have something pure science in the science corner on Steam. That's also one of my big goals, which I hope we can get someone really good to join us and help us on this endeavor.
That's great.
Right now,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just Windows 64-bit compatible. That's what we've tested. That's what we know it will never crash on. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it would, as far as the CPU parallelization, it'd be interesting to see. I'm sure it would be quite an effort at this point, but our DOTS platform, the data-oriented tech stack, is built with that in mind. So we have we use LLVM and C# on the front end to basically, with some constraints in your C# programming, you can spit out parallelizable code using our compiler technology, which we call Burst. And that would certainly, that's platform agnostic. It can go to any platform Unity goes to. So it'd be neat to maybe talk offline about that possibility to maybe bring it to other platforms. And there's another question. Oh yeah, so someone asked, how can someone join you on this? So I assume they're talking about either helping out with the project or with the job. Is there a place to apply for the job you mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm the guy doing all of that. Just join us on Discord.
Okay.
Click this little button here. Maybe we could also put the link on chat, I suppose.
Okay. Sure. If you want to, I don't know if you're able to see the chat, but you could post that link to the chat. So another question, and I think this will maybe round out the questions I had is, now that you've released the game, what next? I mean, obviously there's the port ahead. This is a soft launch. There's still some, it sounds like there's still some work to be done on the game. But yeah, if you could paint a picture for the next year, oh, thanks for sharing that Discord link. Yeah, if you could paint a picture for the next year, what do you hope to, like, what's in store for Quarks Interactive and Quantum Odyssey? And
so first and foremost, the game has a feature, and we have a database to harness what's happening from that feature. Everybody who plays the game from all walks of life, being quantum enthusiasts, being, I don't know, PhDs, being famous people in quantum physics who have revolutionized quantum computing, hopefully we'll get some of those, can give us feedback on the learning module. Give us feedback, let us know, and we follow an educationalist method on how we structure the feedback form of the learning module. There is a place you can grade, and then there is an open box which asks you the question of, does everything make sense in a educationalist way? Yeah, and we definitely keep an eye on this feedback. And for me, it's really important that before we even have this product available on all platforms or all of that, is that it does justice to both the puzzle solving community and the quantum education community. So we want to be able to parse this feedback, analyze it, write some papers on it, maybe. It's all anonymous. And we will, just make sure we polish something up that is just marvelous to look at, to play with. It's fun, it's engaging. Create some idea, implement some functions with ranking people, because there are challenges to solve. So first you learn, and after you finish the learning package, there are a bunch of challenges, like 15, 20 challenges, and those challenges are building on the content you just learned. So yeah, that also is important, to nail it down, to really find the learning curve, to smooth it out, and to make sure that if you spend a couple of hours with Quantum Odyssey, then you could go to any kind of composer, any kind of quantum hardware manufacturer out there, and just like, yeah, I know what these guys do, and I know how to get whatever I want to get. At least that it has to be top notch. And I hope it's already. We had good feedback so far. There are some things we are fleshing out. We had a new patch just now, 7 days after release. And ideally next year, if the feedback is awesome and there are no big things that we need to rework or to really implement, we'll be able to port to all the other platforms and make the game available wherever we can, and continue creating learning modules. So I want to go completely down the rabbit hole of quantum education and bring from the theory parts as complete as I can, to make it as complete as I can. So not leave anything like, I don't know, phase kickback or whatever unexplained in the game and visualized in the game, because it can simulate everything in universal quantum computing. And then have thought experiments. So the game poses you some thought experiments, like you have a small little universe that you're playing with. What would happen? And well, could you reverse the arrow of time? And you can with the right algorithm and stuff like that to make people think. I also want to implement features to get the community be able to share content with each other, to share puzzles. I want to have quantum algorithm speedruns and communities who are competing to solve real life challenges. Maybe we'll find some partners from, I don't know, chemists or other folks who can help us port some interesting problems on, well, up to 5 qubits. Yeah, but we could separate it and create a series of challenges which together would provide some improvement on some real world problem. And then ideally at some point I want to start finishing the story elements. So as I said, I want this game to be a complete journey, in the sense of, right, if now it's finished in an educational bit, it does its job at teaching quantum. I want to take it in space to show you the beauty of extreme quantum technologies and what you could actually do on a spaceship, and as you travel and as you explore deep space in search for answers. Yeah, and I have a video for that. I don't know if many people have seen it. It's on our YouTube channel. I think it's called Quantum Odyssey Launch Trailer, which was the first video I made. Oh, teaser, story teaser, which is the first video we made that describes the story, which we have it written down. Now it's just a matter of getting the budget for it, which again, if you guys buy this game, the money goes into making the next game or improving the current game. One of those two options, or to physicists who are working on the game. So yeah, and finish and hopefully start and push towards bringing story in quantum computing and putting quantum computing in space, and show a story that follows the principle of multi-narrative splits, and the split is done according to quantum philosophy, like David Bohm's pilot wave equation, Everett's many worlds interpretation. So depending on your orientation, depending on your choices and how you decide which philosophical implication to follow, then the dialogue in the game and the events in the game change. Yeah, so to really mess with the player's head and kind of question the ideas of having interpretations over things that cannot actually be physically measurable. Yeah, that's another really interesting piece of work, which I hope to finish. It won't be next year, that's for sure. It will take years to get it done and do it and give it justice. But we could see some more footage from the space-based game as the next step, I would say. Once we are sure Quantum Odyssey as a puzzle solving and as a learning platform is just perfect, yeah, then that's the next step I have in mind. So
I love that there's a vision past the initial game, and I can see that there's a lot of depth to both the game universe you're creating, but also the extent and scope that you see this going. So Laura, it's been a good hour. I've enjoyed getting to dig into many aspects of the game, but also learning about your background, your love for teaching and educating others and making information accessible. Thank you for taking the time to spend this hour with us, and I hope all of the viewers have enjoyed this. Let me ask you one question for posterity, since everything is streamed nowadays. For the up-and-coming researcher or quantum enthusiast, or someone who's looking to dig deeper into the field, what is your single most, what are your words of wisdom for someone looking to dive into this very complex field of quantum computing?
Start building intuition first. I think that's pretty much it. Build intuition for it. Look at these equations beyond the context, and try to understand it, what it does, why it's there, what purpose does it serve. And something we're talking about the game, about how Richard Feynman and Albert Einstein were doing most of their amazing, impressive work was through having a solid intuition for it, and then test the intuition. Test the intuition by checking theory, by checking papers, by checking what other people have done. Yeah, that's brilliant. If you can build intuition, if you have an application that allows you to do that, a platform, which I hope we can provide. Besides that, when you read papers, read the introduction. And click as deep as the introduction goes. There's got to be that one first paper that started the whole discussion, on whatever you think it's hard to understand. Introduction of a paper should always do justice of the content of the paper. So if you want to take the pure science route, that's also something I would recommend.
Okay.
One more thing before we go. I also tested something new, which I just implemented. I want to be able to create promo codes, and unfortunately I failed, so sorry guys. But I set up that the game is on a 25% discount until midnight. I hope that's okay, and I'm curious to see if that has any effect on how people purchase, and if you like it, of course. So you should test it first before you purchase, and you should also definitely join our Discord channel before you purchase. Don't go impulsive shopping here. So I want you to buy it if you really like what you see.
Great. Well, I couldn't think of a better way to end. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you Ben Borda and the Zaiku group. And for anyone who's interested in the deeper mathematics, there's a whole series that Ben Borda has been running this fall, and the final one of the year is this Friday. So feel free to drop in on that. Many of us, I think, from who are here today or have been a part of that course, the quantum formalism course. So I figure I will give a plug for that. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you again, Laura, for your time.
Anytime, guys. Talk soon.